Hello, this is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the weekend. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. Prime Minister Theresa May has insisted Brexit negotiation is on course, despite her failure to chart a clear way forward on the negotiation since she triggered Article 50. While questioning Mrs. May's credibility to continue to lead Britain at this time, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn stated that Brexit negotiation is in shambles.
Well, I'm very pleased to report to the Right Honourable Gentleman, as I've just said, negotiations are in progress and very good progress has been made in those negotiations. What my right honourable friend has been focusing on is the trade negotiations for the future. And indeed, because we are already a member of the European Union, when we leave, we will not be at the same basis in relationship with them as, say, Canada was in negotiating a trade agreement. And therefore, we do expect that we'll be able to get the deal that is right for the whole United Kingdom. What we need to do to be able to do that is to move on to phase 2. And if he's so concerned about easy negotiations, why did his MEPs vote against enabling us to do that?
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister could always look behind herself. But Mr. Speaker, she hasn't succeeded in convincing many people. And yesterday, one Tory donor told the papers, and I quote, "Yesterday proved beyond doubt that the Prime Minister is not only weak, but it's her incompetence that's hobbling the UK." And he wasn't very kind about the rest of her front bench either, describing them as a bunch of jellyfish masquerading as a cabinet. Mr. Speaker, this is truly a coalition. This is truly a coalition of chaos. At the start of the week, it all seemed to be going so well. The Prime Minister had scheduled a lunch with Jean-Claude Juncker, followed by a press conference, and then to triumphantly return to the House to present her deal.
I think it was a little difficult to detect the question that there was within that interruption. But let me say to the Right Honourable Gentleman, as President Juncker said on Monday, there are still a couple of things that we're negotiating on. And he is confident that we will be able to achieve sufficient progress. But if he wants to wonder about plans for negotiations, perhaps he should look at his own front bench. The shadow Chancellor used to say staying in the single market was not respecting the referendum. Now he says it's on the table. The shadow Trade Secretary used to say staying in the customs union was deeply unattractive. Now he says it isn't off the table. Now I think we now know from the Shadow Chancellor what their approach really is. It's not having a plan at all. Because when asked what the Labour Party plan was, the Shadow Chancellor said, "Well, that's difficult for us." As we all know, the only thing the Labour Party is planning for is a run on the pound.
Jeremy Corbyn! Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was unable to support her Brexit secretary when he tried to explain that a deal was supposed to be done in October but still hasn't been done by December. The leader of the DUP told Irish television she only got sight of the deal on Monday morning, 5 weeks after she first asked for it. 2 months after the original deadline for the first phase of talks and after Monday's shambles, is the Prime Minister now able to end the confusion and clearly outline what the government's position is now with regard to the Irish border?
I'm very happy to outline the position that I've taken on the Irish border with Northern Ireland. It is exactly the same position that I took in the Lancaster House speech, that I took in the Florence speech, that we have taken consistently in the negotiations, which is that we will ensure that there is no hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. We will do that while we respect the constitutional integrity of the United Kingdom. while we respect the internal market and protect the internal market of the United Kingdom. And those Labour members who shout, "How?" That's the whole point of the second phase of the negotiations. Because we will deliver this, we aim to deliver this as part of our overall trade deal between the United Kingdom and the European Union. And we can only talk about that when we get into phase two. We have a plan, he has none.
Jeremy Corbyn!
18 months after the referendum, the Prime Minister is unable to answer the question. And on Monday, as she thought she was coming here to make a statement, it was vetoed by the leader of the DUP. The tail really is wagging the dog here. Mr. Speaker, the Brexit Secretary told BBC's Ma programme in June, in my job, I don't think out loud and I don't make guesses. I try and make decisions. You make those based on data. The data is being gathered. We've got 50, nearly 60 sectoral analyses already done. This House voted to see those analyses. But today, the Brexit Secretary told the Select Committee they actually don't exist. Well, can the Prime Minister put us out of our misery? Do they exist or don't they? Have they done the work or haven't they? That is surely one question she can answer after 18 months.
Can I make a gentle suggestion to the Leader of the Opposition? He asked me a question on the Northern Irish border. I answered the question. He then stood up and said I hadn't answered the question. Perhaps he should listen to the answers that I give. The House requested, as I understand it, 58 sectoral impact assessments. There were no 58 sectoral impact assessments. There was sectoral analysis. Over 800 pages of sectoral analysis has been published and made available to the Select Committee, and arrangements have been made available for members of this House to see it. We are very clear that we will not give a running commentary on negotiations as we proceed, but what we will do is work for what this country wants. We will ensure we leave the European Union in March 2019. We will leave the internal market, we will leave the customs union at the same time, and we will ensure there is no hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland when we do it.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, this really is a shambles. All they've done is offered a heavily redacted, abbreviated version which has not been widely shared. And the Brexit Secretary said in September, Mr. Speaker, that £50 billion divorce payment was complete nonsense. The Foreign Secretary rejected any payment and said the EU could go whistle. So can the Prime Minister put before the House a fully itemised account that could be independently audited by the Office of Budget Responsibility and the National Audit Office on any proposed payment?
Because we haven't actually. We're at the point of progressing on to the next stage. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. So the final settlement won't be agreed until we've actually got the whole of the deal agreed. But I have to say to the right honourable gentleman, he's asked me questions earlier about hard borders. You know, half the Labour Party wants to stay in the single market, half the Labour Party wants to leave the single market. The only hard border around is right down the middle of the Labour Party.
Mr. Speaker, 18 months since the referendum, no answers to the questions. Today, they haven't yet concluded phase one, no answers to the questions, and the DUP appear to be ruling the roost and telling her what to do. Mr. Speaker, whether it's Brexit, the National Health Service, social care, our rip-off railways, rising child poverty, growing pensioner poverty, or universal credit, this government is unable to solve important issues facing this country. In fact, it's making them worse. The economy is slowing, more people in poverty, Brexit negotiations in a shambles. This government is clearly not fit for the future. If they can't negotiate a good deal, wouldn't it be better if they just got out of the way?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman, week in and week out, he comes to this House making promises that he knows he can't deliver. And they keep doing it. At the election, he told students they would write off their student debt. Then he said, I did not commit to write off the debt. But what are the Labour Party doing? They're putting round leaflets which say Labour will cancel existing student debt. It's time the right honourable gentleman apologise for grossly misleading Labour leaflets.
More than 20 years after the U.S. Congress passed the Jerusalem Embassy Act asking the U.S. Embassy be moved to Jerusalem and the city be recognized as Israel's capital, U.S. President Donald Trump has given effect to that act, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and approved moving U.S. Embassy to the city. The action has caused anger among U.S.'s Muslim allies and in the Arab region.
My announcement today marks the beginning of a new approach to conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. In 1995, Congress adopted the Jerusalem Embassy Act, urging the federal government to relocate the American embassy to Jerusalem and to recognize that that city, and so importantly, is Israel's capital. This act passed Congress by an overwhelming bipartisan majority and was reaffirmed by a unanimous vote of the Senate only 6 months ago. Yet for over 20 years, every previous American president has exercised the law's waiver, refusing to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem or to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital city. Presidents issued these waivers under the belief that delaying the recognition of Jerusalem would advance the cause of peace. Some say they lacked courage, but they made their best judgment based on facts as they understood them at the time. Nevertheless, the record is in. After more than 2 decades of waivers, we are no closer to a lasting peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. It would be folly to assume that repeating the exact same formula would now produce a different or better result. Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering. I've judged this course of action to be in the best interests of the United States of America and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. This is a long overdue step to advance the peace process and to work towards a lasting agreement.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has applauded the move by U.S. President Donald Trump.
This is a historic day. Jerusalem has been the capital of the Jewish people for 3,000 years. It's been the capital of Israel for nearly 70 years. It was here that our temple stood, our kings ruled, our prophets preached. Jerusalem has been the focus of our hopes, our dreams, our prayers for 3 millennia. From every corner of the earth, our people yearn to return to Jerusalem, to touch its golden stones, to walk its hallowed streets. so it's rare to be able to speak of new and genuine milestones in the glorious history of this city. Yet today's pronouncement by President Trump is such an occasion. We're profoundly grateful for the President for his courageous and just decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to prepare for the opening of the U.S. Embassy here. This decision reflects the President's commitment to an ancient but enduring truth, to fulfilling his promises, and to advancing peace. The President's decision is an important step towards peace, for there is no peace that doesn't include Jerusalem as the capital of the State of Israel. I call on all countries that seek peace to join the United States in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and to move their embassies here. I share President Trump's commitment to advancing peace between Israel and all of our neighbors, including the Palestinians. This has been our goal from Israel's first day, and we will continue to work with the President and his team to make that dream of peace come true. I also want to make clear there will be no change whatsoever to the status quo at the holy sites. Israel will always ensure freedom of worship for Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. President Trump, thank you for today's historic decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The Jewish people and the Jewish state will be forever grateful.
Meanwhile, there have been violent clashes in some cities, including Bethlehem, West Bank, and others in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Also, reactions have continued worldwide to the announcement.
As expected, Palestinians and their supporters worldwide have reacted angrily to the U.S. President's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
He is appeasing religious extremism here and abroad, and he has dealt a death blow to the prospects of peace in the region.
There are concerns that Trump's move undermines a two-state solution for the Middle East. The UN Secretary General said the status of Jerusalem should be resolved through direct negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and reiterated that any unilateral move could undermine the peace efforts.
I will do everything in my power to support the Israeli and Palestinian leaders to return to meaningful negotiations.
The chief Palestinian negotiator said Trump's move disqualifies the United States as a player in the Middle East peace process.
He is in total violation of international law, human rights, and he's turning the conflict between Palestinians and Israelis from a political one into a religious one.
Some analysts agree that Trump's decision signals an end of the American-led peace process.
The Palestinian public wouldn't allow it. So any Palestinian leader who tries to, I think, would be thoroughly discredited in the eyes of his people. I do think that it is the end of an American-led peace process.
The head of an Orthodox Jewish advocacy group in Washington told VOA that recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital will help revive the peace process.
The announcement by President Trump today and the start of the process towards relocating the embassy sends a very important message to the Palestinians and the others, which is if you stay on the sidelines, things are not going to stay status quo. You're actually going to lose ground. So that it's really in your interest to find ways to, first of all, stop things that are undermining of a potential peace process.
A 1995 U.S. law envisions a relocation of the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But so far, all presidents before Trump have signed waivers to postpone the move amid security concerns.
With that, we conclude the news roundup for this week. Thank you for being part of the program. I am today Alabi. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. Part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create a platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Another business segment of Dialogue in Diaspora, 2 to 3 p.m. every Monday. But guess what? You can be part of the program. Just send us an email at bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. Dialogue in Diaspora, your voice, your opinion on our TV.